Does anybody know how to fly a helicopter? Does anybody know how to fly a helicopter? I sure hope so, because we need a helicopter pilot on America's most miraculous podcast, The Pod People. I'm Spherical Kyle.
I'm Roy Donk.
Hi, I'm Cleveland Mosier, and in 60 minutes, I'm gonna bust.
My God. Please tell me it's a prank.
That's for you to find out.
Well, on this week's exciting episode of the podcast, we're talking about Ben's pick. Ben chose Miracle Mile for us to discuss. Fortuitously, it was playing at the Alamo Drafthouse on the big screen right when you wanted to pick it.
Yeah,
So
I guess it's like 35th anniversary. It came out in
89.
Alamo's doing like a throwback to 89 series.
So we just got back from seeing it on the big screen.
It was sick.
This was my first time seeing it.
Same.
This was Cleveland's first time seeing it.
That's right.
Yeah. This is one of my all-time favorite movies. And I will say, just off the rip, like, I urged you guys to not know anything about it going in.
And I didn't.
Because I think kind of the moves they make in the story and kind of the tone of it really benefits, not knowing anything about it.
Yeah.
It's true.
Well, it's a comedy of errors. It's an apocalyptic farce. It's about a guy who answers a phone booth that's ringing and hears somebody on the other line saying that in an hour there's going to be a nuclear strike, that the world is descending into full-blown nuclear war, and you got to get the fuck out right now. So the rest of the movie is him trying to get the fuck out and sort of lighting fires along the way.
Literally, yeah. It's kind of one of my favorite subgenres of movies is like one bad night. Stuff like Martin Scorsese's After Hours or The Warriors even.
Yeah,
does
totally.
that really well. And I feel like this is one of the ultimate examples of that because things just descend and get worse and worse and crazier and crazier.
An Odyssey crammed into an hour, really.
Yeah, I can say I didn't know anything about this film at all. I other than hearing the title bounced around here and there, it's never been really that on the forefront of pop culture in my eyes. Like I've never.
No, not really.
This isn't one that you see too many clips cycling around. I think I did see some clips of the Fat Boy Diner that did ring bells. But it's
I think that's. I think Americana. I'm pretty sure that's a real diner in LA that has been used in multiple places.
The road there is called Miracle Mile in LA. Like that's a real location.
Yeah,
a lot of those spots are very real.
Just like Mulholland Drive.
But I do think that the Fat Boy Diner has been in like a bunch of movies,
yeah,
so you've probably seen it elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean, really, not knowing the premise made it so gratifying. I was wondering for the first 15, 20 minutes of the movie, like, how is this going to become a pod movie?
Yeah.
I mean, they start the first 15, 20 minutes of this movie as like just a straight dorky romantic comedy sort of thing, which I think is brilliant because like it makes the rug pull so much sweeter when it happens because like you really don't expect it. Like you have no reason to expect it taking those turns.
And I mean, like, obviously, spoilers. I mean, we've already kind of
this is your last
cracked into the premise, but go check it out. I think it's
highly recommended.
I think it's on Tubi. I think it's also on Freevee.
Yeah,
it's on the free
places. Arrow put out a really nice Blu-ray of it. I would recommend that as well. Definitely seek it out.
Seek it out because I mean spoilers from here on out, and again we already have kind of spoiled a little bit.
You did.
The premise. I did. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
But yeah, it starts with.
It starts with.
Yeah. What do you have to
to
say about the allegation?
shout for the listeners, Minnie? What do you have to say? Very good.
Well, it starts out
treat.
with Anthony Edwards, our main character. He plays like a dorky jazz trombonist, I guess.
Yes.
And he's at the museum.
He's at the museum at the La Brea Tar Pits.
So is Mayor
Winningham?
Winningham.
Yeah, Mayor Winningham.
She is like a teacher, I guess, and has like a class of students there or something, it seems.
No, they both work there, right?
No.
Yeah.
Anthony Edwards is a jazz trombonist.
And she's a waitress. She works at the
Oh, you're
diner.
right, you're
Yeah, I
right.
think they're both just there.
There.
Okay. Yeah.
So the way it's played out in a montage, it felt like they were there forever.
Yeah. Well, the movie kind of starts with the voiceover from like one of those like old Cosmos style kind of like documentaries talking about the Big Bang and like life developing on Earth and evolution. And so it's starting this whole montage at the opening credits, like going through the museum and seeing like the models of like the prehistoric animals and stuff, and like the characters are sort of bumping into each other, you know, every now and then, and he's sort of like trying to like catch her eye and stuff.
It's kind of cute romantic comedy in a very 80s way.
Yeah.
Like, you know, he's joking around to kind of get her attention and making a fool of himself a little bit.
Yeah, I like that he's a dweeb.
Yeah,
I like
yeah.
that he's not jockey. He's not cool at all. He's kind of a buffoon
Totally unrecognizable from his character in Top Gun.
entirely.
Yeah.
Wait, is he Goose?
He's Goose.
No
yeah.
fucking way.
Yeah.
Oh my god. I
Anthony Edwards.
To the degree I didn't even like fucking clock that.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh shit. Yeah. I was
much dweebier, but you know, and we're getting some kind of like voiceover from him, and you know, he's like at the end of the day he's standing outside at the museum. He's like, Harry, like you finally met the girl of your dreams and you let her slip through your fingers. You're never gonna see her again. And then surprise, there she is. She walks up and they start talking, and then the montage sort of continues into like a date montage.
I kind of want to talk about her fit there.
Oh my God.
It's like a full purple get-up.
It's something else.
With tights and everything, and
Yeah, it's extremely 80s.
yeah.
I like it throughout the movie his kind of like big baggy suits with like the very bright flamboyant like shirts underneath with the ties. Maybe it's just because I've been rewatching Better Call Saul, but it like his outfits in this movie is very evocative
Jimmy
of
Cody. I love how colorful everything is in this movie. It's a very beautiful movie in terms of like just kind of vibrancy.
Yeah.
Like, you get, like you said, like the bright kind of gaudy suit and like
and her crazy purple
her
outfit.
weird purple outfit.
But yeah, you get a lot of the, like, one of my favorite, like, film aesthetics, which is, like, LA at night, you know? This is definitely, I mean, that's most of the movie. Mm-hmm. But yeah, he invites her to, like, his concert where he's playing the trombone, and he impresses her with his little solo, and she brings her grandpa along. It's very wholesome. After that, he's like walking her back to her apartment, and they set up like a next date. Like, she has to work the night shift at the diner, but she gets off at midnight, and he'll come pick her up and they'll go out dancing or whatever. She intimates, or more than that like she's gonna fuck him.
Yeah.
So she's like,
she says she's gonna screw his eyes blue.
yeah,
On the
third
third
date,
date.
I'm gonna
Third
screw your eyes blue.
Love that.
She's like, so while I'm at work, like, you go back to your hotel and like take a nap, because like you're gonna need your energy.
Before he takes his nap, he has a little cigarette out on the balcony.
Yeah, he takes like he lights up a cigarette, takes like one drag from it and pitches it.
Which is the real sin,
Yeah.
I think. That he wastes the cigarette, he just talks it. And a bird flies along thinking it's a twig and grabs it. And then he goes to bed and we see the bird After he sets his alarm, the bird lands in its nest, adding this nefarious twig to its nest.
The still burning cigarette. Setting its whole nest, and it's nesting like in the wires on like the roof of the hotel. Yeah. So this causes
a transformer
causes a power outage. So his alarm does not wake him up. He sleeps through it, and Julie, his date, is very disappointed that she's been stood up, and goes home and cries to her grandma.
Takes a Valium
And goes to bed. And so then later, when Harry finally does wake up, when the power comes back on, his alarm goes off, he starts getting ready, but then realizes that it's not midnight, it's 3:45.
I like the way they make him realize it. Like, he's flipping through the channels, and most of them are, like, you know, in the 80s, like, after a certain time, they would just, like, not have anything running.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't 24 hours like we know now.
I mean, even when I was a kid, that was...
Certain channels still did, yeah. And they would usually, like, end it off with, like a weird, like, patriotism reel.
Yeah, well, they
with
do that
like
here.
Exactly,
they
yeah. It's like
Star-Spangled Banner.
It's like the Star-Spangled Banner set to, like, jets, like, flying and stuff. And, you know, he's, like, flipping through other channels, and, like, they're already off. And then he comes to one that's just sort of like an, I guess, like, a weather info channel that has, like, the temperature and stuff, but it's got the time on it, too. So he sees that he has missed his date by, like, 3.5 hours. Still sets off to the diner anyway to see if perchance she might still be there waiting around for him.
And we mentioned the diner briefly earlier, but I love that location.
It's got so much character.
Yeah, it has such a good kind of nocturnal look to it with the you know, fluorescence they have in there, and the patrons are all weird, you know, 4 a.m.ers.
Yeah, 4 a.m. diners.
Yeah, the type of patrons that you would expect to see in a 24-hour diner at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
And yeah, let's just rip through all the characters real quick. We have the flight attendant, or lady dressed as a flight attendant, and we see her rehearsing her lines too. I really love that. Like,
so
putting the mask on.
Yeah, and it's great because it adds so much character to the scene without us even needing to hear her dialogue. Like, she's just sort of mouthing out the words of, like, yeah, put on your mask, tray table up, and all that, and we just know, and I think it's super cute. Yeah, she's rehearsing. Wonderful background texture. And then there is a businessman, well, at the time, transvestite would be the word. Yeah, and then forgive. I'm trying to be polite. I don't think I'm doing a good job, but
you're not.
My apologies. But anyway, we have two sort of maintenance men, and then lastly, Denise Crosby from, as we all know, Crosby, Stills, and Nash.
Yeah, exactly.
No, she's from Star Trek. But I will say, just to get out of the way, so we can move on with our lives. Her character in Star Trek is not a favorite of mine. Tasha Yar. She's only in 22 episodes before she gets the boot.
Wow, only 22.
Well, that's not a lot. That's not even the first season. Like, she's gone before that. There's like 7 seasons of Next Gen. But so she's only.
We used to be a real country that made real television.
So many goddamn episodes. But I like her character on paper, but I didn't really like how Crosby portrayed Tasha Yar. And but I think the really funny bit is, guess how they killed off Tasha Yar?
A nuke.
They fired a nuke at her?
Well, she's eaten by a sentient tar pit.
Oh.
Okay, right? Kind of neat, right? Kind of, yeah. More on that later.
Was that before this? Or after?
Right around.
Okay, same time.
Late 80s, yeah. We're right there into Next Gen.
I don't know.
But
Star Trek.
She was only in like the first season, and she left Star Trek because she thought that it wasn't going anywhere. This is before Next Gen really
Jeez.
kicked off. And so she left like right before Next Gen really kicked off, and her career just kind of puttered. Like, she's still acting. She's in all sorts of stuff, and she's in like Walking Dead and a bunch of other things. But you know, her career never hit like the same stride as like so many of these other like great actors off of that show. You know, I don't know.
Yeah.
Should have stuck around. Like,
But all these diner goers are very small characters, but I feel like they're so well rounded just in the small bits of conversation and texture we get from them.
the texture in particular, one of my favorite bits, it's a little heavy-handed, is that the Tasha Yar character, she sits down, she's got her big mobile phone,
Yeah.
you know, the big boxy kind of car phone looking device, and she opens up her briefcase, and inside is a booklet. It was weird. It's a booklet of Pynchon's Gravity's Rainbow.
It's
It's
Cliff
Cliff
Notes.
Notes.
Cliff Notes.
It's the
That's
Cliff
why.
Notes of
Because I was like,
Gravity's
oh,
Rainbow,
okay,
yeah.
I missed that it was Cliff Notes because that's actually really funny.
She doesn't have the time.
She doesn't have the time. She needs the Cliff Notes, which is funny because the movie is like Cliff Note Gravity's Rainbow, and I think that's really cute. Like, that's wonderful because Gravity's Rainbow is all about trying to predict where the bombs will fall. It's set during World War II mainly, but it's very Pynchon-esque, so it's all conspiracy and it becomes stream of consciousness and blah blah. But it's
Well, yeah,
largely about
Gravity's Rainbow is the reference to the arc of a missile, right?
correct.
That's
Yeah,
I haven't read it, but that's what I always assumed.
yeah, it's a beautiful piece of literature. Like, it's also like really gross and terrible at times too. Like,
but it's quite dense.
high highs, low lows with that book. Yeah, it's got a lot of really fucked up shit in it, but it is beautiful at times. But anywho, all that to say, I thought it was neat. You know that we get kind of the Cliff Notes. It's perfect. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. We get the two guys that come in kind of joking about how hot she is.
Oh yeah, well
The
I'd
maintenance
say
guy,
one of
yeah.
them is being very
Yeah, that's forgiving.
very forward. Yeah.
He's just outright like catcalling her and being a piece of
Yeah,
shit.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so our protagonist Harry shows up, realizes that Julie is not still there. From one of her coworkers, like he gets her number, so he goes outside to call her. She doesn't answer. He leaves a message, and as he's kind of like pacing around outside, like, God, I can't believe I fucking slept through my date with this hot lady. I'm such a fucking dipshit.
How am I gonna get laid now?
How am I gonna get any pussy now? I'm almost fucking 40 goddamn years old. And so the phone starts ringing again, the payphone. So he goes to answer it, thinking that she might be calling him back. And he picks it up, and there's just a guy on the other side, just sort of like frantically babbling. He thinks he's talking to his dad, and he's telling him, he's like, we're going to, like, it's locked in. It's too late to stop it. We're going to be, what is he saying? Like shooting our nuclear wad or something.
Yeah, we're gonna bust.
Yeah, in 50 minutes, and then it'll be coming back to you in an hour and 10.
Yeah.
And then he hears some like military police or something come up on the other side of the line, and like he hears gunshots, and then somebody else picks up, is like, you didn't hear it, forget everything you heard, just go back to sleep.
Yeah.
And they hang up the phone.
What I love about the call is it just like teeters the line of being like too much. Like this movie in general does that a lot, where it gets a little over the top.
Oh,
with
it's
stuff,
heightened reality. Yeah,
but
It's
it
fun of
works for the film because it is very absurdist at its core.
Yeah.
And yeah, I love him trying to figure out where his dad actually is, and if he miscalled or.
This movie strikes a really interesting tonal balance where I think a lot of it is quite funny. Like I laughed a lot at like the absurdism, and it's usually like dictated by the actions of the characters and like sort of how their panic drives them to do like irrational things. And it's like very funny, but at the same time, like the tone of the film is just like this constantly like escalating sense of like pure dread.
Yeah.
And like being able to balance both of those things to like make me feel nervous but also keep me laughing is something that I was really impressed by.
Yeah.
I think that's a tricky tightrope to walk.
I think the shining star in terms of tension building for this movie.
It's the score. Yeah,
Oh,
we've got
shit,
a
man.
Tangerine Dream score,
Oh,
so
It's
it's
one of
like
my
so
favorite
good.
Tangerine Dream scores. Honestly.
immediately elevated.
Like
yeah,
that
it's great.
nocturnal LA sound that they get for this movie is just
It's delicious,
Amazing.
man. It's so fucking. I love it. Like when they're driving and they're out on the freeway and like it's just like building so beautifully. Like I was riveted. And it's all thanks to that incredible score. I mean, and the writing and the everything else, but like.
The score does a lot of
so
heavy
good.
lifting for sure.
Yeah, they let it shine.
So he goes back inside the diner and he's starting to like freak out a little bit from the call, and he basically ends up getting everybody in the diner like extremely riled up.
Yeah, I love how once he comes in, he's trying to compose himself a little bit, and his nose starts bleeding onto
Yeah.
his food, and then he demands the full pot of coffee from the waitress and just pours the whole thing. Of
Yeah,
cream
pours all of
into
this cream straight into the coffee pot. Yeah, and that's sort of like what like he's kind of like aggressive with the waitress, and like so she goes and gets like the cook from out back, and then he basically like starts talking about what he heard on the call, and then like the maintenance guys or the blue collar guys are at the bar, they like start freaking out, and Denise Crosby gets like very serious because she's obviously some kind of government something, and she asks him to relate exactly what he heard on the call, and like a couple of like specific words that the dude said like really key her off to like shit, like this could be legit.
And I think it's brilliant because like while he's kind of riling everyone else in the diner up, she's on the phone like calling, like getting intel about like
She's getting up the senators
and stuff, and you can see the look of horror on her face as like the severity of this dawns on her. Just fantastic acting, honestly.
I mean, it is the best I've seen Denise Crosby do, for sure. I was surprised to see her like really putting it all in.
And then the cook, like, he really starts freaking out. Like, he fucking, like, leaps up on the counter and pulls a gun on Harry and is like, is this a fucking prank?
That guy is familiar. He's been in other stuff.
He did look really familiar. I couldn't quite place it. This movie's
The Stuff.
It could be. This movie is full of familiar
Character actors, yeah.
familiar faces. Yeah.
RoboCop.
RoboCop. He's in
Yeah,
RoboCop. Yeah, that's right.
Tons of great character actors. Even though they're fairly brief appearances, like they do a great job giving them texture.
Well, he just runs into the back and starts loading up a cart with just like a bunch of non-perishable food from the kitchen and stuff, and they get like the catering truck or whatever and pull it around front and start loading everything, and like everybody from the restaurant gets in, and Denise Crosby starts like arranging stuff at the airport, and she tells the waitress and one of the like blue collar guys to like come up with a list of like leaders and scientists and great minds. And so, like, the one dude just starts, like, listing people from Mensa or whatever.
I love the line where it's like, Mensa's not a person.
Yeah, it's not a person, it's an organization. That's so funny that's where people, like, Mensa's fucking fake, man. Like, that's so funny.
But it's perfect for those characters.
Right, exactly.
Because,
Those
like,
are the people that they would think
it
are,
almost
like,
feels like she asked them for that just to keep them distracted.
occupied. Yeah.
Busy.
So, yeah, they arrange that there's going to be a helicopter that lands on the roof of, like, this just, like, big office building down the road. Mutual life benefit, something. Yeah, health insurance or something. Unimportant. Harry is like, we gotta stop and get Julie. And the cook is like, nah, fuck that. Like, every minute counts. Like, I love her too. I'm sorry, but like, we're not going anywhere. He's like, well, at least pull over so I can get out. He's like, no, every minute counts, and I don't have time to stop. I'm going to be slowing down to get onto the interstate up here, so you can jump out then. And so he does.
Frankly, king shit, in my eyes. I think he's right.
Well, yeah, so he jumps out and fucks his face up pretty bad, breaks his glasses, and like momentarily knocks himself unconscious. I like when he's like waking up slowly, because we can see like two headlights coming up the ramp, and it's like, then it cuts to his face. It's like you can see the light shining on him, and he opens his eyes, and it cuts back, and they're like bearing down on him, and you realize that it's two people on motorcycles, and they go
it's an old bit, but a good one.
Go on either side of him. Another car starts coming up the ramp, and so he pulls out the gun that he stole from the cook before he jumped out of the truck, and like pulls this guy over. I like the dude that like he like skids to a halt, and the trunk comes open, and he's just got like a trunk full of stolen car stereos and stuff.
Like, take whatever you want, man. Like, I haven't seen your face. Like, don't fucking shoot. I'll tell him it was a Mexican family.
Yeah.
It's a really good line. And also it's McKelty Williamson, who is one of the leads from Justified, and also more recently too, he was in the new Fallout series. Also,
Oh, really?
yeah, it's a bit of a that show is a bit of a Justified reunion.
Yeah, I love this character Wilson, who becomes the sort of like hapless driver for Harry, because he's like he gets in the car and he puts a gun to his head. He's like, I need you to drive me around, but you're gonna be one of the lucky ones if this actually happens. Like, it's gonna be lucky that I pulled you over.
And hearing that without knowing that a bomb is gonna drop on the city,
right,
just makes it all the funnier, because he is dumbfounded as to what exactly is going on.
And he's fucking freaked out because this like crazy dude at 4 a.m. on the highway like just pulled him over and put a gun to his head and is like making him drive all over the place. I love it. Is like, you got enough gas to get to Park La Brea or whatever, and then back to the airport. He's like, no, man, I barely had enough gas to get me back to Venice. It's like, okay, we'll pull over at this gas station here. He's like, well, that's a gas station for cabs. They won't. It's for taxis. Like, they will give
just
me
one fuck up after another.
Dude, man, the gas station scene
one of my
is
favorite
one of my
scenes.
favorite. It's so funny. Like, the pumps are locked up because it's in the middle of the night. Like, they're not in a cab. And, like, the guy running the gas station comes out with, like, a sawed-off shotgun. And Harry's, like, still over in the payphone, like, trying to call Julia. And Wilson, the other guy, is like, hey, man, like, this dude just told me to come here. And look, I'm not trying to steal anything. It's like, here, we just need some gas. And he's like, he'll give you even more money if you give us gas. Like, he'll give you $50 plus this 20. And so when Harry comes back, the dude with the gun is like, all right, I'll give you gas, but you got to give me $50. And Harry's like, okay, here's $50. And right as they're going to unlock the pump, the cops drive by and see this dude standing out here with this sawed-off shotgun.
Yeah, well, and both of the guys out there are like, we got to be chill with the cops. Like, the cab guy, he has a shotgun that he's not supposed to have. And he says it'll be like 5 years for that. And Wilson is like, oh, it'll be 10 years for the stereos
for
in
what
my
I got
trunk.
in my trunk, yeah. And so the cops pull up and they immediately like tell the dude with the shotgun to like get on the ground. And Wilson's like, yeah, man, I work here, and that dude's been trying to rob me all week. And the you know, so they start arguing with the cops, and then for just because I guess he panics, Wilson pulls the gas pump out and just sprays gasoline all over the cops. Both of the cops,
yeah.
That's right. And one of the cops, she like gets like startled and like fires her gun off in the air.
Classic cop behavior.
Yeah, right. Classic cop behavior. Firing her gun for no reason, and so it ignites the gas.
And
her, and then the other cop comes over and tries to help her, and then he catches on fire, and then the gas pumps catch on fire, and so Wilson and Harry just like hop into the cop car, and they're like, we gotta fucking get out of here. And as they're driving away, the whole fucking gas station just colossal explosion.
The explosion looks great.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I love that.
I like that they do a small practical as they're driving away where the pumps go, and then when they round the corner and we get where they mat the buildings of the explosion behind.
Yeah,
that's great. It's huge. Great sense of scale. Great ending to a great scene.
Yeah. I think that was the scene when I first saw this movie where it took it from, oh, this is a really good movie, to, oh, this movie, it's got that dog in them.
Yeah.
Got that dog in it. And it does. Right, so from there, more pandemonium ensues, more chaos, and then the movie ends.
Yeah, that's
we
it.
did it. That's the
Great
episode.
job.
Oops, sorry, I hit the fast forward button.
So next they go in the stolen cop car to Julie's apartment complex, and this whole time, like, Wilson's kind of like trying to figure out what the fuck is going on, and Harry, thinking that he won't believe him about like nuclear war, he tells him that there's a nuclear meltdown happening, and like the plant is gonna explode. Then at that point, Wilson's like, oh, my sister, like, lives around there, so, like, I've got to go get her, too. And Harry's just like, no, there's no time. And so when they get to Julia's apartment complex, he tells Wilson, he's like, wait here, honk the horn in 4 minutes. And he goes inside, but the elevator's broken. So he's got to run up like 17 flights of stairs. And he's like pounding on the door where Julie lives with her grandmother. Nobody's answering, so he just fucking kicks in the fucking door. And then, of course, Julie's grandmother also has a gun.
Yeah,
just
it's America.
I know, it's so funny. Everybody in this movie just has a gun. And so she pulls a gun on him, and then she's like, oh, wait, you're Julie's friend. Like, well, she's dead to the world right now. You should just come back, and why don't you just come back tomorrow? It's like, I know you're here at fucking 4:30 in the morning. You
just broke down my door.
Kicked my door in, but I know you really want to see my granddaughter, but she's asleep right now. But he tells her like what's happening, and goes to wake up Julia, but she's taken a Valium, so she is like passed out, so he just puts her in a shopping cart. Or I guess he carries her downstairs first, but puts her in a shopping cart.
Well, we should mention that Wilson, he gets concerned about his own loved ones.
Yeah.
And eventually he's like, this is taking too long, and just
he steals the cop car.
Yeah,
he peels out. Then Harry is like talking to Julie's grandmother, and they're trying to get like her car in the garage, but she doesn't know where the key is because she hasn't driven it in like 15 years or something like that. Oh, also what's established a little earlier when they first meet is that Julie's grandparents are like estranged because they like had a fight like 15 years ago, and they haven't spoken to each other in 15 years, even though they live in like the same apartment building, basically. Like they live like right next to each other, so they're constantly seeing each other, but they're never talking.
All it takes is a nuclear bomb to bring them together.
Yeah, exactly. The threat of nuclear annihilation.
It's very weirdly wholesome.
The threat of nuclear annihilation really makes you think about like what's important in your life, right? And forget your petty differences and squabbles that you had with your wife 15 years ago. Because when they get down to the lobby of the building, he's still carrying like unconscious Julia. Like the grandpa shows up. And yeah, so they have their little reconciliation, and they're like, you go, we'll catch up with you or whatever. So he like runs outside and puts Julia in a shopping cart and is like pushing her around, and she finally comes to and is like, where am I? Why am I in a shopping cart?
Yeah.
Like, why are you pushing me around?
I like how she just sort of like rolls with it
off
first.
of the Valium.
Yeah. Well, yeah, she's like, you stood me up, and he's like, I'm sorry, there was a power outage, my alarm didn't go off. She's like, huh, Yeah, I guess that happens. It's just like she totally like breezes past that he was like so worried about earlier. Well, but now he has much greater concerns, of course.
Yeah.
Like the end of the world.
I think it's weirdly cute that he doesn't tell her about everything that's going on.
Yeah.
So she just believes that he's surprising her.
Yeah, that, you know, she went to bed, she took a Valium and went to sleep and woke up with this dude that she doesn't know that well pushing her around in a shopping cart.
Taking her to a hot air balloon.
Yeah, right. She
thing
thinks she's going
on the top of a building.
She thinks they're going to a hot air balloon ride, and that's why they have to get to the top of the skyscraper. One of the things I love about this movie is like how most of it is set in like a relatively like small area, just like a span of like a few blocks, but there's such like a just continued frantic need to get from one place to the next that it constantly feels like the distances are vast. You know, it sort of like takes this small area and like expands it to this like almost epic kind of proportion.
Yeah, that's what's nice about it, is the film starts as this cute little real-world romantic comedy, and then suddenly greatness is thrust upon our doofy protagonist, and he's been given the news of annihilation. Right?
Yeah.
And he has to deal with that and handle that, and as the world around him starts learning those things, everything becomes heightened. It becomes fantastic. And I love that structure. It's great. Yeah, he's given this horrible magic sword, and he has to go out and fucking, you know, fight his way through L.A.
Yeah. Well, I love too that like his motivations. It's not like he's trying to save the world. It's just like he's trying to get out before.
Yeah,
he gets
He's trying to save his
out.
girl.
Yeah, he's trying to save his new lady love and get them out. And that's all it is. But he is so bad at shouldering the responsibility that has been laid upon him that everybody he comes into contact with, you know, he basically like poisons, you know? And just like that's what, especially in like the latter like third of the movie where it like all really starts to culminate, is like what is I think the best part of this movie.
Yeah.
Is just like the eventual ensuing chaos that really he has caused directly.
Well, what I love too, like going into the third act, where like things start to break down societally, like there's still like a glimmer of doubt on as to like the veracity.
Oh
of it
yeah,
even
100%.
Yeah, we don't know. Yeah, like I was wondering if this movie would end with a big reveal that there was no bomb, that there was no threat, and that all of this chaos had been caused just as a Chicken Little story,
Yeah, exactly.
you know? And Boy Cried Wolf and all that. So I like that we're teased on that front, and we don't know if we are facing a night.
That's always the question. Yeah,
in a weird way, that's equally as horrifying, right? Like,
right.
You accidentally cause like a citywide panic.
Yeah.
All that death
over
for nothing.
nothing. Yeah.
You just really see how fragile society really is.
Well, and too, like, it's just great commentary on living under a nuclear threat. You know, which I mean, we have our whole lives, and you know, and
we always will.
Yeah, pretty cool.
That's never going away.
Yeah. Is it just?
That is never going away. Can't put the genie back in that bottle.
Yeah.
As James Franco says in Pineapple Express, Pandora only comes out of the box. You can't put her back into but yeah, it starts getting really fucking absurd from here, because they get to the skyscraper, they go up to the top, and the helicopter's there, and all of these people that Denise Crosby has called to get all of these supplies. There's these two women with just like duffel bags full of guns.
See, what's funniest to me about that is, like, when I first saw that, I thought like they were doing a robbery at the same time. Like,
Yeah.
and it just like inconvenient circumstances yet again. But I guess they were part of the crew.
Yeah, she's called all these people, and they're all here, and they've
Gave
got
them
all
the
of
gun
this.
task.
And you see all the supplies and stuff they've had is way too much to fit on the helicopter.
Helicopter.
It's like you can just see that. But they've got all this stuff, they've got all these people, there's these new characters who are fucking panicking about this shit, but there's no fucking helicopter pilot.
Yeah.
They've got all of these other supplies, they've got a helicopter, but they don't have anybody to fly the helicopter. So Harry takes it upon himself, because he's got to get him and his girl out of there, to go find a helicopter pilot. So he just starts like running through the streets, and this is still early in the morning, so like nobody's around. But anybody he
It's like
sees is
5
like,
a.m..
he's like, do you know how to fly a helicopter? Do you know anybody who knows how to fly a helicopter? And he sees like some people like jogging and follows them into like a gym. And so he's just running around the gym.
The most 80s gym
Oh,
I've
yeah.
ever seen in my life.
All of the classic like old 80s spandex workout gear and shit, lots of big hair and stuff. But anyway, he's running up to all these people exercising, like, do you know anybody who knows how to fly a helicopter? Do you know how to fly a helicopter? He goes into like a classroom where they're doing like a jazzercise class, and they're just like totally ignoring him. So like he pulls out his gun and just like fires it into the ceiling.
No, he fires it at the
Oh, that's right. No,
boombox.
that's right. He shoots the boom box to stop the music. God.
Great.
Nobody in there knows how to fly a helicopter, and he goes out the door, and he's just like, does anybody know how to fly a helicopter? And then one guy in them, she's like, yeah, I know how to fly. I know how to fly. It's just like
big,
this-
beefy, like,
Swole-ass
yeah, like Arnold-looking dude, and he's like, I know, what do you need? All right, but I gotta get somebody first. And he's like, oh, Christ, not again.
It's like, yeah, oh,
And
fuck.
we think like, oh, here comes another Odyssey, right? But he just walks into the room and comes back out with the person
Yeah.
instead. I love that, like, it's another, like, slightly, like, skinnier, kind of slender, like, hunky dude, and they're holding hands.
It's a
like,
twink. It's his twink boyfriend.
And he's like,
yeah.
that could be a problem. I love that. Like, you got a problem?
I mean,
like,
it's
"Nah,
one
man,
of
you're good.
it's a relatively harmless but kind of classic like late 80s like homophobic joke a little bit, because
Oh,
you've
for
got like
sure.
you've got like
Yeah.
this big beefy dude, and he's like, there's somebody that I gotta get, and he's like, he goes into the room, he's like, Leslie, let's go. And then like a little guy comes out, and then they're holding hands, just like, I hope this isn't gonna be a problem. It's like, oh, Leslie's his little boyfriend. Isn't that funny? And you know what?
It
It
is.
is funny.
Yeah.
You know
It
what?
is funny.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing. Like between like the late night diner trans representation and that
The
like,
trans woman, yeah.
yeah, it feels like very harmless. Like
Yeah, I know,
ultimately,
it-
like it doesn't feel like offensive by any means.
It doesn't
Like,
feel mean spirited,
yeah, which is important. You know, a
Totally.
lot of '80s movies can veer hard into being
Yeah.
I mean,
shitty about that.
Yeah, I mean, I've met plenty of bears from the '80s who were defensive about that kind of thing. Like, it's also just kind of sometimes how people are. Like,
Yeah.
it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's
But so he has his helicopter pilot now, and he runs outside, and they're starting to run back towards the skyscraper, but then he hears Julie's voice shouting, does anybody know how to fly a helicopter? So now she, in his absence, has run out and is also trying to find a helicopter pilot. So he tells his helicopter pilot, okay, you go to the helipad at the top of that big skyscraper over there. Don't leave without us. I gotta go get somebody, and we'll meet you back. So now he has to fucking go running off trying to find Julie. And when he does find her, they're starting to head back, and then he sees a cop car drive over the sidewalk and crash into a department store.
which looks great.
Great effect.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, man,
Amazing
yeah.
set piece.
So many films have done the car crashed into building interior set. This is one of the best I've seen.
I mean, it doesn't just like crash into the front window; it barrels through deep
Yeah.
into the department store. Which I
across
love.
to the other side, and like the whole department store. And again, it's a more '80s mall shit. Like the whole thing is just been ransacked by this car. It looks great. And guess who it is?
It's Wilson.
It's Wilson
and his sister.
But his sister has been seemingly shot or at least damaged in the crash.
Yeah, in the crash, they have been they crash very badly.
I love it how he gets out of the car. He dramatically like picks her up in his arms, and he begins trying to flee up the escalator. And as he's walking onto the escalator, it powers back on, and it's the
down escalator. Yeah.
So he's like, the music is still swelling dramatically. It's all very sad. They don't lean into it too far. It's just like, and he just starts walking up this literally endless staircase, and until he just gives up. And it's so funny.
Yeah, it's great.
It's funny, but it's also like tragic.
Tragic and sad.
Well, yeah, because like his sister is dying in his arms, and like Harry runs over to him, and he's like, man, I thought you said like the cloud would have happened by now. Like it's been it's been over an hour. Like what's going on? Well, and we've got like the other cops have shown up outside, they've surrounded the building with like the SWAT team and everything. And it's like, and Wilson is just like, he's just been like so fucking hapless this whole time, just has no fucking idea what's going on. And it's led him to this moment where it's like, is he like his sister is dying, he's about to die, like what was this all for, and he's like help me. And he asks Harry to like shoot him, but he dies before he can. And yeah, I don't like it again, it's like really a strange balance between like absurdly funny but also just like, I don't know, that part feels bad, man.
Yeah, I mean, again,
it's like, bleak.
This movie
it's
captures
nihilistic.
That weird, tightrope between the two just so perfectly. I don't think I've seen a movie quite capture that kind of gallows humor.
They're surrounded. The whole front of the building is covered with cops, and they know that they're also responsible for those cops at the beginning at the gas station for dying. So they're saying, all right, cop killer, come out with your hands up. And then all of a sudden, they flee.
Yeah, all the cops, like...
Yeah, because they plan on getting themselves up, and they walk outside, and all the cops are just dipped. Except for one.
I was going to say, I love that little gag of, the one SWAT guy just kind of falling and busting his ass off the rope. And then running off.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
they didn't
very
even
funny.
wait for him. Yeah.
But like, yeah, that's very ominous when like all the cops just like give up the scene of this like, accident where they know they've got cop killers and that they're just leaving. It's like, that's not a good sign.
Yeah, I mean, bit high fantasy. The idea the cops would run away from an opportunity to shoot.
Well, I mean, I guess if they're threatened with nuclear annihilation, I don't know, maybe that would even make a cop reluctant to shoot a black guy. Who knows? Maybe we should do an experiment.
No?
Parody, satire. This is a comedy podcast, whatever.
Wow, are you saying because this is a comedy podcast we can say whatever we want, Tease? Because that's not how this works, okay?
Yeah, this is America. What are you talking about?
Yeah, okay. All right.
This is the land of the free and the home of the...
Going out in a nuclear blaze of glory. Moving on.
Moving
So
on.
the cops are gone. Our protagonists are left to run back to the building to see if they can get out.
Well, and at this point, the sun is starting to rise, and we're also starting to see some other signs of, like, spreading chaos. There are starting to be, like, cars on the road, people running, and it seems like news has like
Looters
started to spread in earnest.
I love how our main character gets sidetracked to this kind of electronics store, and it's one of those places where they have like TV displays showing the news.
Yeah.
And I love the news broadcast that they have because it's clearly chaotic. Like they're not sure what to capture. They cut to an on the ground reporter with just chaos happening behind him.
Yeah, and a dude behind him just like shoots him and the cameraman while like laughing maniacally. At this point, he's like told Julie to run back to the building, but he's got to do. So I forget why they get separated right there.
Because he thinks he sees the.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
he
he sees a guy who he thinks is the helicopter pilot. So he's like, why is he not back at the helicopter? So he runs, but it's just like some other big beefy blonde guy. Yeah. But yeah, then the electronics store gets like blocked by like a delivery van, so he has to like climb up on top of it to get out, and then he jumps down onto a car, and the dude in the car, like when he lands on the roof, he just like instinctively pulls out like a huge pistol and just starts firing it through the roof of the car. And my favorite part about that is that, like, when Harry jumps off the car, like, starts running, the dude gets out of the car and chases him with the pistol. And
into the sewers.
Yeah. Man, that whole part where Harry is, like, on the ground and there's, like, all the cars around him in traffic and, like, there's a couple of fires going already.
It's an incredible set piece. Like,
it looks hellish,
this movie... I don't think it had a huge budget, but, like, you are seeing, like, a lot of the budget just in this, like, singular street block here.
Yeah. But, yeah, like you mentioned, he, manages to he's crawling through the street and under cars and stuff, and he manages to crawl into a sewer drain, and the dude keeps following him, but he's too fat and he can't get through the sewer grate, so he just starts, like, firing his gun, like, wildly into the sewer after Harry. And so Harry has to make his way through the sewer a little bit, but he finds a ladder and he climbs up and comes up inside the lobby of the building where the helicopter is. And he sees Julie, who's coming into the lobby at the same time, and they get into the elevator and they're riding up to the top. And before they get up to the top, there is, like, an explosion.
They have a conversation about, like, the panic that they're experiencing, and, like, their feelings for each other, and one of the hardest lines in all of cinema is in the scene. Like, Julie says something like, "Maybe we can rebuild," like the survivors. Maybe we can all rebuild as a society, and he says, "I think it's the insect's turn."
Damn.
And it's like, Jesus Christ.
It's always been the insect's turn.
Yeah.
But yeah, like there's like we hear an explosion and like the elevator stops and like the emergency red light comes on and they're sort of like huddling together and holding each other and like, coming to terms with like this being their last moments and talking about like, once we die, like our spirits will still be together and all of this stuff. And they start kissing and, then they start undressing each other and then the elevator starts working again and it opens up at the top and the doors open and the helicopter is gone. And
I love how the one guy we see earlier, he's almost like the fixer.
Mm-hmm.
He's coordinating everything for the helicopter.
Yeah, he really hates Denise Crosby's character.
Yeah.
Much more than I do. And he keeps swearing and just screaming at her and stuff. Early on, and even still, but now he's got his shirt off and he's like shoveling pills in
high
his
as
mouth.
hell off the perks.
Yeah, shoveling pills, drinking from a bottle of liquor.
He's like, yeah, if I like fucking shoveled all these pills for an earthquake, I'm be pissed. It's a really good line.
Yeah, like when he just like smashes the bottle and just like dumps the rest down his throat, surely with a lot of shards of glass as well. But then the helicopter comes back with our beefy muscle man
I said I'd be
piloting. I said I'd be back, and
Again, just being an Arnold.
Get to the chopper, you know. So he does come back for them, and they get in, and they're starting to fly away, and then we start to see the trails of missiles coming in.
I like, too, that the helicopter pilot looks like he's been shot. We don't know why. It's never explained.
Yeah, he's like bleeding from his mouth. Yeah, he's been through some shit clearly
Something
as well.
has happened, but we don't know
Well,
what.
I mean, everybody's going through some shit. It's total fucking chaos at this point. But yes, then at this point we finally see the trails of the missiles coming in over the city. And we know finally that it was not a hoax. It was not a false alarm or anything like that. Like it's been real all along.
I love how they shoot that. Like
Yeah.
with the bomb dropping, it like hard, flashes to white, and we see the guy on the helipad. He's freaking out, but he's so overblown in the shot that he's almost like yellow.
Yeah,
It's really cool.
yeah. And so they're in the helicopter when one of the explosions happens. So it like makes the helicopter go out of control, and they crash in like the fountain at the tar pits. The helicopter is like sinking and it's slowly filling up with water, and I love the shots we get like looking up through the helicopter out, and you can see like this like statue of like a prehistoric elephant that's kind of like mid scream or whatever, and then you've got like the palm trees burning in the sky behind it, as the helicopter is like sinking deeper and just like filling up with water.
The whole ending with them kind of accepting their fate
Yep.
Yeah.
They will be preserved forever.
is so bleak yet so weirdly romantic.
Yeah.
Like this movie does such weird tonal combinations.
Yeah,
that
like
somehow work.
Harry did indeed find the girl of his dreams. All it took was the end of the world. And then the movie ends with another like big explosion.
Yeah.
Like the explosion or whatever.
Hit that on.
Yeah.
There's one tiny detail I forgot to mention I really love is that it's often said that the clusters in palm trees are full of rats in Hollywood. What movie was it? I was watching a film where that was joked about, but oh no, it was Sympathizer very recently on HBO. That's right. That's what it was. I can remember. But anyway, yeah, like those things are like can have rats in them and shit. So very when our protagonist is like rushing back to the diner to try and pick up his gal, he crashes. This is before he even knows about a nuclear annihilation. He crashes into a palm tree, and that's why rats fall on his car. And it's that seedy underbelly, LA shit where it looks all pretty, but really it's all fucking gross. And I love that. Like, I just think that's quite cute. So there's that little detail I wanted to touch on, and I think that's about it.
Once again, I fucking love the weird tone that this movie strikes.
Yeah.
Like, it has a little bit of everything. It doesn't start horror by any means, but it sure gets to horror by the second half. Like, I find, like, the sense of dread in this movie, like, absolutely bleak and horrifying in a way, like, I don't feel about some other, like, apocalyptic movies.
Yeah.
Because I feel like a lot of times with apocalyptic movies, it's so distant, like, the threat.
Yeah.
Where this feels very immediate because, like...
It reminds me of another movie of the same era that I think does the same thing really well as Prince of Darkness.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think that this movie, in terms of how it feels, reminds me of that a lot. Mm-hmm. Do y'all want to rate?
Yeah.
Ben, why don't you start?
Yeah, before I do, I have a couple of quick little bits that I wanted to mention.
Sure.
Bits of trivia. Anthony Edwards and Mare Winningham are a couple in the movie. They ended up getting married.
Oh, really?
In real life. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So it's cool that like they actually had legit chemistry.
Yeah.
To the point where it turned into a a fruitful relationship. That's cute.
And it wasn't the end of the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So the movie has a happy ending after all.
Kinda.
one of the other things I wanted to mention is I years ago I reviewed this on Letterboxd, and out of the blue, the director Steve DeJarnett commented on it.
On your
thanking me-
Letterboxd review, really?
Yeah, thanking me for it
Yo.
and plugging his website with a book or something. He only made 2 movies, one before this called Cherry 2000, and this, and then he didn't really do much.
I was
in
gonna
the
say, yeah,
industry
his
after
name
that.
does not like
Which is a shame
I'm not
because
familiar
I
with
think
him at
the
all.
writing in this is fantastic.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, I thought it was really weird and cool.
Well, yeah, I guess he's a Letterboxd user
Yeah.
as well.
Well, the comment was deleted in the last 6 months. I think what happened is they banned him for self-advertisement. Because I think he probably did this on a bunch of reviews.
Probably went through every positive review of
Yeah.
Miracle Mile on the fucking platform and was like, please check out my website, please!
Which, you know what? Rise and grind, my dude.
Do you
Rise and
remember
grind.
do you remember what the website was for us to plug?
No, but I will find it
SteveDeJarnett.com.
because when someone comments, I get an email. So I have the email somewhere here. Yeah, but anyway, rating.
Yeah.
This is an easy 5 for me. This is one of my favorite movies of all time.
Cleve, what about you?
I go to 5.
You give it a 5 too?
Yeah, I'll go to 5. I'm hot off of it. I don't know if it will stay a 5. But right now, yeah, I'm feeling it. I loved it. I had a great time. I laughed, I cried. And I said, live, laugh, love.
Live, laugh, love until they drop the bomb.
Yep, then you
And then you
glorp into a tar pit.
yeah, exactly.
Live, laugh, glorp.
Live,
That's what
laugh.
I say.
Yeah, you know, I think this could potentially be a 5 for me at some point in the future. I still kind of need to process some things about it. So I'm going to give it a strong 4 for now. But it was a treat to see it for the first time on the big screen. That was really fun.
You're gonna knock this down from being a golden pod.
Yeah, sorry. If I was teetering between 5 and 4.5, then I would give it a 5, but it's going to be a 4 for me. Anyway, still Miracle Mile, strong average of 4.7 out of 5.
You want
so.
if you like the Twilight Zone,
Oh,
want to
yeah.
see a good full-length version of what could be a Twilight Zone episode.
Oh, yeah.
This is a great
Very
one.
true. Yeah. Definitely a strong recommend, especially if you sat through the episode and still haven't seen it.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just had a vague memory come back to me. I just realized that Futurama has a really funny reference to this movie that I
really?
never got before now. Yeah, they're doing like special awards at the for like their future Oscars or whatever, and they're by the tar pits, and we see them pull out mammoths and also a skeleton couple hugging each other. That's
Okay, yeah.
Like,
Nice.
I'm pretty sure. I'd have to go back and double check, but I'm pretty sure. And also, it makes sense. Like, frankly, like the tone of Futurama and this are pretty similar. And you know, all the bit with like Fry and his dog and him being frozen and stuff. Like, I don't know. I think the tone is, you know, like very much matches.
Yeah. No, I think so. That's funny. I'm due to revisit Futurama at some point.
What are we covering next week?
Yeah, next week. So next week is my pick, and I decided I'm going to stick with the kind of weirdo, obscure deep cuts that I think will make for interesting conversation. So next week we're going to talk about a English movie from 2018 called Possum. All right,
We're doing Possum.
Yeah,
Fuck
we're
yeah.
doing
I've been wanting to
Possum.
do Possum for ages. I almost picked it myself.
Okay,
Sick.
well,
I haven't seen it, but I've been wanting to watch it. I hear it's.
if you don't,
I hear it's bad times ahead.
if you don't know anything about it, I would
true.
same thing as you said last week, Ben. I would advise y'all to just wait.
Wait, have you seen
yeah, I have seen.
You
it,
have
yes,
seen it.
I have seen this. Yeah, I have seen this. I think it'll be an interesting conversation. Go in totally blind, knowing nothing about it. We'll be back to talk about Possum next week. It is a weird bad time. What we love on this show.
Hell yeah.
Let's do a sponsor.
Oh yeah, of course. Ring ring, the
Ring,
sponsor
ring,
shelf.
ring-a-ling-ding.
Ring-a-ling-ding. Sponsor shelf.
The
will
sponsor full of bling.
sing. Here we go. This episode was brought to you by the Sandwich Bastard. Get him. He's coming for us all with sandwiches.
The Sandwich Bastard is, he's the kind of guy that you like to see.
He's got sandwiches.
He comes along, he's got the sandwiches, and they got the sauce.
But you gotta catch him.
Yeah.
He won't give them to you. You gotta get him.
He doesn't make it easy. That's why
No.
he's the Sandwich Bastard.
Yeah.
He'll atone for
Sandwich
his
bastard.
sins one of these days.
But the sandwiches are worth it.
Oh yeah, they're worth catching them.
Like, he's a bastard, but you won't regret it. So, thanks to the Sandwich Bastard. Alright, that'll do it for us this week. If you like the show, leave us a 5-star rating and review wherever you're listening to this. Become a Patreon supporter at patreon.com/podpeoplepod. Shout out to our honorary pod boys, Sam, Zach, Micah, and Mitchell. You can also follow us at letterboxd.com/podpeoplepod, where you'll find a list of all the films we've talked about on the show with our average ratings and links to those reviews. For my recommendation this week, I watched a movie. I mentioned The Warriors earlier. I watched another Walter Hill movie called Southern Comfort.
That's a good one.
It's fucking awesome. It's about a National Guard platoon doing a training exercise in the Louisiana Bayou that runs afoul of some fucking hillbillies. It's basically a Vietnam War movie, but in the Bayou. You got a little bit of Rambo. You've got a little bit of Deliverance.
Nice.
It's got great cast: Fred Ward, Keith Carradine, Powers Booth.
Okay.
Yeah, thought it was fucking awesome. Really had a great time with that. Southern Comfort, 1981.
Well, mine will be. Let's see. I watched 2 Herzog Klaus Kinski films. This week. I'll
Nice.
just shout out both of them real quick. Cobra Verde, which changed my life, incredible film, and Wojciech, which is about a strange poor man who's forced to eat peas for a quarter of a year and goes insane because of it. And if that makes no sense, watch it.
Yeah.
It still won't make sense. It's great. I loved it. Yeah.
My recommendation. Well, first I found a site. SteveDeJarnat.net.
.net.
So,
Steve DeJarnat.
SteveDejar.net.
that might take you somewhere else. Honestly.
Yeah, man.
I don't want to go there.
But I'm gonna recommend his other movie. He only did 2 movies. He did one before Miracle Mile. Only got a video release in the U.S. I think it might
really?
have had theatrical internationally, but it's called Cherry 2000. It's about a weird post-apocalyptic future society where this businessman's robot wife / sex robot blows a fuse.
Awesome.
And he has to traverse the entire wasteland to get her repaired,
Oh my
essentially.
god. That sounds great.
Yeah, it's super fun. It stars Melanie Griffith. It's super fun. It's on Tubi. Definitely worth checking out.
Hell yeah. All right. Well, thank you for listening, and hopefully the world will not end before we speak to you again. But if it does, I don't know, jack off or something.
Bye.